Hi, Steve here. Thank you for joining me on the Panoramic Travels channel. You may have seen a video I published a few months ago entitled, "I Made a Big Mistake and You Can Learn From It." If not, I'll put a link in the description and at the end of this video. Basically, I left Harvey the RV at its outdoor storage lot for 2.5 months without starting it. It totally drained the chassis battery to the point that I had to have Harvey towed to the Ram service center. They replaced the battery, which thankfully was still under warranty. I mentioned during that video that I was going to look into battery disconnect switches, also known as kill switches, so I could disconnect the battery if I knew we were going to be away from the RV for an extended period of time. To be clear, panoramic house batteries already have a disconnect switch in the back of the RV. I'm specifically talking about the Ram chassis battery now. Okay, how did I choose the battery disconnect switch? First, I did a Google search and found different types of battery disconnect switches. The simplest one just has a knob that tightens to connect and loosens to disconnect. This type is inexpensive and very easy to install. The problem is that every time you want to disconnect the battery, you have to remove the mat and remove the battery compartment cover to access it. Another problem is that once you disconnect the battery and you exit the RV, you can't just depress a lock button to lock the RV. My Google search also showed me remote battery disconnect switches. These are more expensive but still reasonably priced. Having found this type of switch, I then went to YouTube, or what I call YouTube University. I was able to see what other people chose and how they installed them. The installation is only slightly more involved than a basic disconnect switch because you have to connect one wire to the positive battery post to supply power to the remote disconnect switch electronics. The remote disconnect switch overcomes the basic switch's two disadvantages. The remote switch doesn't require you to access the battery compartment, and it allows you to exit the RV, lock the doors, and then hit the remote disconnect switch button. I ended up buying a gas array remote battery disconnect switch with a digital readout, which was only about $6 more than the unit without the digital readout. So let's get started with the installation. So let's see what's in the box. We've got the two remote switches. That's going to be connect battery, disconnect battery, on, off. Then here's the actual remote battery disconnect switch. That's going to hook up to the negative post, and then the cable will attach over here so that this will go through that circuit. And we've got a couple of lock washers, the bolt for the second post, and then a little pad for when we attach it inside the battery compartment. I had to modify both of these connections by loosening the Allen screws. I rotated the connection on the left up and rotated the connection on the right down so the unit would fit properly. This unit has a few additional features. One is that it will automatically disconnect if the battery voltage gets below 11.8 volts for more than 2 minutes. Another feature is that the battery will not disconnect if the battery voltage is above 13.2 volts. That's because typically this higher voltage occurs when the engine is running. Obviously, you don't want to accidentally disconnect the battery while you're driving down the highway. So now that it's installed, I'll exit the RV, lock the doors, and then disconnect the battery with the remote button. The main purpose of the battery disconnect switch is to keep the battery from draining when left unattended for long periods of time. but I can also see using it when we're on a road trip and we'll be leaving the RV somewhere for most of the day. Or is that a bad idea because it's going to disable the vehicle's alarm system? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It really helps feed the algorithm. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and we'll have more videos up soon.